The chills hum, race against the sun. Hello everyone. Tonight we are going on a journey far, truly far. Not just to the age of smartphones or the steam engine or even the wheel. Tonight we are going back 25,000 years. You are standing on the mammoth steppe, and the Ice Age is in full command. No cities, no shelter unless you build it, no warmth unless you earn it. The sun, hanging low on the horizon like a dying ember, offers only the illusion of comfort. And the main question is, can you even sleep in such a place without freezing to death? You probably won't survive here. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like this video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely like what I'm doing here. And let me know in the comments where you are listening from and what time it is. And now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan to create that soft background hum. And let's quietly dive into today's journey together. The light is somehow wrong. It's not golden or orange, like a summer evening in places with trees. Here, it's a pale, chalky disk, suspended in a wet, wool-colored sky. You squint at it as it drops towards the horizon, more out of habit than hope. The sun offers nothing more, only a sense of time's fleetness. You pull your hood, fur-lined, tighter, not for theatricality, but out of necessity. The wind does not kiss your face, it strikes it, and your breath does not mist, it crystallizes, scattering in tiny shards of ice that ring on the ground like broken glass. You are not alone here. A small group is trudging beside you, a family, a clan, maybe 5, maybe 6 people, all moving in one direction with a quiet urgency. You have been on your feet since morning, gathering dried roots, perhaps scraping bark from a rare stunted bush, or hauling pieces of tendon and fat from a found carcass. It does not matter. What matters is that the light is fading, and with the light goes your margin for error. There is a pressure in your chest, not fear, but a kind of primal warning system firing flares. You have learned to trust it. Everyone has. Because as soon as that sun dips out of sight, this whole landscape becomes something else. It shifts from miserable to murderous in less than an hour. The wind's tonality is already changing. It is now whistling, dragging long fingers of snow across the packed earth. It does not fall from the sky. It drifts sideways, skimming over the ice like a malice-filled haze. You look down as you walk, just to break the monotony. Every step makes a sound, a dry crunch that echoes in your bones. The snow is not fluffy. It is like compressed sugar on top of stone, and beneath it is the frost-shattered earth, as unforgiving as the sky above it. To your right is a cluster of long-dead trees, huddled together like survivors of some ancient crime. Their bark is scoured, their trunks are stunted and twisted, wearing frost like lichen. One of the younger boys in your group knocks a piece of ice off a root and winces. Frostbite begins with carelessness. Everyone knows that. There is no talking now. Conversation wastes heat, and in this world, heat is wealth. You speak with nods, with gestures. A raised hand means wait. A chin jerk means look. A hand on the chest, I am tired. It is a minimalist language, efficient and honed by centuries of cold. You scan the horizon. It's hard to tell where the earth ends and the sky begins. Everything is a shade of gray, white or the sickly blue of buried glacial ice. But there it is, a break in the monotony, a low, rounded form, almost absurdly subtle. If you didn't know what you were looking for, you would miss it. It is home, or what passes for home here. A living hill, swallowed by snowdrifts. Its outline is barely distinguishable from the surrounding landscape, but you know better. You know the secrets hidden under that mound of earth and hides. And more importantly, you know that inside there is fire, and people, and sleep. Your pace quickens, as does everyone else's. Not a run. That would be foolish. Too much sweat, and you will freeze the moment you stop. But the urgency is unmistakable. You feel it in how your feet burn and how your breath hitches. You're racing the sun, and the sun does not lose. By this point, your face is numb, save for one aching spot where your cheek met the wind wrongly. Your eyelashes are iced over, and the inside of your nose is sealed with ice. You wait on wiping it. It only makes it worse. The animal hide on your shoulders feels stiff, crusted with frozen sweat and breath. And still you walk. Every step matters now. Your hands tucked into fur and tendon mitts automatically flex. You do it without thinking. Keep the blood moving. Don't let your fingers die. It is one of those silent lessons passed down without words, like not standing still for too long, or how to turn your back to the wind without letting your hood be snatched off. The sky deepens in color, though not in warmth. There is no twilight here, no purple or gold, just a darkening, as if someone is slowly turning down the brightness of the world. Shadows do not stretch, they dissolve. You no longer see your own breath, not because it has stopped, only because the light has grown too faint to catch it. You reach the first familiar landmark. A rough pole made from a mammoth femur juts out of the snow at an angle. A strip of hide is tied to it, tattered and stiff. It flaps lazily in the rising wind. It is not decoration. It is a road sign telling you that you are close. Just a few hundred more steps. Behind you, someone stumbles. Not badly, just a foot catching on a drift, but it is enough to make the group freeze for a moment. You turn, the person gets up again, nods. No injury, no delay. The march resumes. The hill is bigger now, clearer. You can make out a thin, dark line slicing its slope, barely visible beneath the swirling snow. A wisp of smoke escapes from that slit. It rises in a lazy spiral before being torn apart by the wind. That smoke is life. That smoke means warmth. It means someone has stayed to tend the fire, that someone is alive, that you, perhaps, will soon be warm too. But you are not there yet. The cold doubles its efforts as the last smear of sun finally disappears behind the horizon. You feel the difference instantly, as if the world has taken a deep breath and decided not to exhale. The temperature plummets, the air becomes sharp, the crunch of snow underfoot becomes brittle, louder. Your body, already cold, begins to stiffen. Muscles ache, joints protest. Every breath now stings your lungs like a gulp of frosty needles. You know what comes next. You have done this before. But that does not make it easier. You still need to walk the final stretch, still need to reach the hole in the hillside, still need to squeeze through the hanging hides and find your place in the circle. But you are close. You see the silhouettes of others diving into the tunnel ahead of you. One by one they disappear, swallowed by the warm belly of the shelter. You take one last look at the world behind you. It is vast. It is silent. It is utterly indifferent to your survival. And then you lower your head, clutch your furs tight. and step forward into the darkness. The den and the warmth sanctuary. At first, the structure does not even seem real, just another snowdrift, another bump of earth shaped by wind and ice. But as you draw closer, the contours sharpen. It is not a hill, it is a challenge, a low, rounded thickening, half swallowed by snow, but alive in a way the surrounding landscape is not. It breathes smoke, and within, it holds the warmth. You do not just walk towards it, you aim for it, like a moth drawn to a flicker in the dark. Your boots crunch louder now, the surface beneath them harder, more compacted. Others have been here dozens of times. The snow here has been trampled to icy permanence. The final gust of wind strikes your side, one that steals breath and dignity at the same time. Your shoulder automatically hunches, as if you can somehow fold smaller and escape the wind. It does not work, but you do it anyway. Everyone does. And there it is, the mouth. It is nothing to look at. A low, oval tunnel, half choked with snow, like the den of some massive animal. No doors, no carved jambs, no welcome mat, just a slit in the earth, curtained by thick, frozen hides that have hardened like armor. Their edges crackle in the wind. They are stitched together with sinew, patched where wolves or time have gnawed them. You duck low, not because it is polite, but because if you do not, you will hit your head on a mammoth rib. The tunnel entrance is only a meter high, maybe less. This is intentional. A small opening is easier to guard against the cold, against the wind, against creatures more curious than welcome. Warmth does not like open spaces, so you crawl to keep it close. As your hand reaches for the hanging hide, the cold deepens one last time. It is the petty final act of the outside world, as if winter is flicking your ear as you leave the room. The hide is stiff in your hand. You push it aside, and everything changes. The moment you cross the threshold, it's like falling into another season. The wind is gone, simply gone. One step and you are underwater in the warmth. Not hot, but dense, lived in, used. The air is thick with scent, smoke, and people. The cold on your cheeks does not disappear immediately. It is lingering, like an insult. But your body understands instantly. This is sanctuary. Inside, the darkness is pressing. You blink again and again, until finally your pupils surrender to the firelight. It is not bright. Do not expect torches and chandeliers. The world here is dim. The shadows are thick and flickering. But in the center, a low, licking flame offers just enough light to paint the faces that turn towards you. These are your people. Your eyes automatically scan them, not to count, but to confirm. An elderly man with gray in his beard, tightly wrapped in fox furs. Two children huddled together like puppies, cheeks red from the heat and playing. A woman with a long scar on her jaw nods to you across the space, then turns back to what she is preparing in a hide bowl. You smell meat. It is not fresh, more like the smell of something that has been cooking long and slow for several hours. Fat, smoke, hide, and earth. It envelops you the way the cold enveloped you before, only this time it is comforting. You step fully inside and allow the hide to fall back behind you. A heavy thud, as if a book has slammed shut. The outside world is gone. There is no furniture here, no corners. The entire space is curved, every edge softened by hides and habit. The walls are low and rounded, a dome of survival, shaped by hand and instinct. But you don't look at them yet. You are too busy warming up. Your cheeks hurt as the sensation returns. Your fingers tingle inside your mittens. You stomp one foot, then the other. Someone behind you does the same. A shared ritual, unstated, but simply understood. You crouch by the entrance to remove your outer boots. The laces are stiff, but your fingers work fast. You do not want to track snow into the nest, not because it is rude, but because snow is sabotage. It melts into moisture, and moisture kills. You set the boots aside near the fire in a row with the others. Steam is already rising from their seams. A quiet cough breaks the silence. A child, 3 winters old, is being passed from lap to lap, already dozing despite the noise. You smell the fermented musk of cured hides, a mix of wolf, fox, and something larger, perhaps caribou. It is not unpleasant, just ancient. This is not luxury, this is life. Your eyes adjust further now. You begin to see the details. Hidden genius. The low ceiling is not rock, but hide, tightly stretched over a framework of curved tusks. Some of the tusks are carved, not decoration, just marks maybe, or the profile of a mammoth scratched with love or boredom. The seams between the hides are tightly sewn with sinew, so skillfully done that you barely see the joins. Clumps of dried moss stick out in places, a natural insulator, packed between layers to hold the heat and filter the smoke. The heart of the shelter, fire and energy. Speaking of smoke, it is real. It does not billow. It hangs, a lazy blue haze that clings to the upper dome. You keep your head low. Everyone does. Near the ground, the air is thick but breathable. Near the ceiling, that is for ghosts. And for the ventilation hole, a narrow slit that leads up through the structure and out to the open. It breathes like a lung, opening and closing depending on the weather. Too open, and you freeze. Too closed, and you do not wake up. It is a science. And someone here, likely the elder, has been adjusting it all day with the care of a priest tending a sacred flame. The space is full, but not crowded. Bodies are logically arranged. The fire occupies the center. Around it, the group forms a circle, faces to the flame, backs to the wall. Behind them, a ring of bundles, tools, sleeping hides. Everything has its place. Everything is in its place. You are home now. Not in a house, not in a room, but in a womb of bone, earth, and hide. You feel your shoulders drop for the first time since noon. The air is hot with breath. Your breath, their breath. 20 people exhaling in quiet harmony, creating a steam bath in the Ice Age. And you still have not spoken. You nod. Someone hands you a strip of dried meat. Another offers a warm bowl of broth, thick, greasy, and perfect. You take it all without comment. Words can come later. Warmth comes now. Someone passes behind you. A hand touches your shoulder. You do not flinch. It was just a signal. I am passing by. In this space, bodies touch constantly, but never accidentally. You look around again. No ceiling, no walls, and yet this is the safest place on Earth. You made it. The cold is still out there. The wind is still howling, but it cannot reach you now. Not through these hides, not through this heat, not while this fire is alive. The fire is not big. You might even call it unimpressive if you did not know what it means. It does not leap or roar. It whispers, a slow, constant exhalation of heat and smoke settled into a shallow pit in the center of the shelter. But this fire, this small flickering thing, is everything. Without it, you would not last an hour. You drop down closer, careful not to cast a shadow onto the flame. The heat reaches you in gentle pulses, not harsh like the cold outside, but slow and steady like breath on skin. The fire is tended, built not for drama, but for duration, and its smell is unmistakable. Not wood, not here. It smells earthy, oily, a little of burned hair and cooked bone. You look at the stack of fuel, neatly piled to the side. Not logs. That would be a joke in this landscape, where trees are myths and twigs are treasures. Instead, the stack is made of dark, flat bricks, dried mammoth dung, pressed and hardened like peat. Beside them, jagged shards of mammoth bone, yellowed and greasy-looking, split lengthwise to expose the rich channels of marrow. They burn hot, these bones, not like wood, but more like candles, a slow, dense, oily flame that licks but does not consume too quickly. One of the elders tends the fire. He moves with the precision of a man who has done this for decades, maybe longer. No poking, no frantic blowing. He leans over, slightly shifts a dung brick, nudges a glowing bone into place with a carved antler tool. A flash of heat rolls outward. The fire accepts the offering and continues to burn. Around it, the faces of your people glow in shades of amber and shadow. Eyes are flickering, cheeks shining with sweat or steam. The cold has fled this circle. This is the new sun. You sit shoulder to shoulder with the others, and not just for comfort. It is ritual. It is alignment. Everyone has their place, and yours is exactly where it should be. Neither the center nor the edge, but somewhere in the middle, enough to share the warmth, enough to earn it. The fire is positioned exactly in the center of the room, not by accident. The floor has a slight slope, barely noticeable if you haven't sat on it for hours. It is designed to help the smoke rise toward the ventilation hole in the roof and reduce its accumulation in the breathing zone. Smart, isn't it? Ancient HVAC, perfected through trial, error, and generations of people who really did not want to die in their sleep. A child crawls closer, holding something on a stip, likely a piece of fat or dried meat. He rotates it over the fire with exaggerated caution, eyes wide. Some adults watch, but say nothing. This is his test. Will he keep it from falling? Will he scorch it or toast it or get it just right? This is learning by fire. The space around you hums, quiet laughter, a cough, the rustle of someone adjusting a sleeping mat in the corner. No one raises their voice. There is no need. The fire hears everything. It is the center not just of the shelter, but of the culture. Stories are told around it. Disputes are settled beside it. Children are born in its light. And yes, people die next to it too, but never alone. You take your place on the packed earth, allowing your legs to stretch toward the heat. The heat tingles your shins, seeping through your skin. Your outer garments are still near the entrance, hanging in a row like frozen ghosts slowly thawing. What you wear now is for indoors. Supple, well-worn hide, soft from body oils and years of use. The hearth crackles. A stream of smoke snakes upward to the roof, disappearing into the vent. You watch it for a moment, noting how the smoke shifts with the air current. Not enough fresh air coming in. The smoke curls back and clings to the ceiling. Too much, the fire starts to hiss. But right now, everything is perfect. A miracle of balance. Metabolic heroism, food and sleep. And while the fire burns, so do you. Invisibly, of course. But your body is also a fire. A smaller, quiet one, but no less important. You are burning calories at a shocking rate here. Just staying warm all night is an act of metabolic heroism. That is why this fire is not just for warmth. It is a dinner bell, or, more accurately, a dinner altar. The woman across the circle adds another bone to the edge of the flame. This one is split lengthwise. Inside is marrow, glossy and red like wet wax. She allows it to sizzle just enough to be warm, then scoops it out with a carved spoon made of antler. She hands it to the boy with the stick. He grins and offers his charred piece in exchange. The exchange, warmth for fat, fire for fuel. The smell that fills the room is rich now and almost sweet. You breathe in through your nose, slowly and greedily. There is meat somewhere, frying on a flat stone near the edge of the embers. Not steak, not the kind you might know. More likely, a chunk of mammoth flank, tough and oily. It curls as it cooks, fat slowly dripping down. You lean forward, your stomach already waking up. It is not just about the taste. It is survival. You have been burning calories all day, walking, hauling, fending off the cold with sheer will and fur. Now you need to refuel. A shallow bowl is passed to you. You hold it in your hands, feeling the heat soak into your palms. It is a kind of broth, thick, cloudy, heavy with fat. Floating in it are small chunks of root, perhaps a few fermented berries, and unmistakable strips of sinew and skin. You drink it as if it is a treasure. And in this moment, it is. Someone laughs softly. One of the elders has begun to tell a story, not with words, but with rhythm. He taps on his knees with two bones, beating a time. The others begin to murmur quietly. It is not the full story yet, just the skeleton. The heat of the fire draws out the muscles. Later, if there is time, he will pronounce it fully. But for now, the fire listens. You shift slightly, moving a little closer to the flame. Not too close. Everyone knows the smell of scorched fur, but close enough that your knees transition from cold to tingling to warm. You wiggle your toes inside your boots. Life is returning, one nerve at a time. The fire will be fed all night, but it will not roar. That would be wasteful. Instead, it will glow like a quiet heart, pulsing life through the body of your shelter. You look around the circle again. These people are not guests. They are not roommates. They are not even just family. They are the boundary between life and death. And together, you all revolve around this small miracle at the center of your world, a flame that remembers how not to die. Caloric armor. Sleep as a risk. The smell hits your nose before the bowl hits your hands, a thick, oily aroma that clings to everything. The hides, your hair, the back of your throat. It is the smell of life. It is also the smell of calories. And in the Ice Age, calories are currency. Not just for movement, not just for strength, but for sleep. You bite. It is not elegant. It is not fine dining. It is survival cuisine, and that means fat. A piece of mammoth belly fried until the outer layer crackles, while the inside remains almost gelatinous. Your teeth sink in. Fat coats your tongue, rich and slightly sweet from rendered marrow dripping into the fire. No one eats fast, not because of etiquette. Your clan does not indulge in napkins or dinner parties, but because haste wastes heat. You chew slowly, allowing the warmth from the food to spread across your chest. Every swallow is a coal in your body's furnace. Across the fire, the woman is crushing something in a stone bowl, dried berries, dark and shriveled. She adds them to a pot hanging low over the embers. You smell the sharp tang of fermented fruit mixing with the meat. A little, just enough to cut the grease, to remind your tongue that life was not always winter. And this is the whole point. You are not just filling your stomach, you are building armor from the inside. Because here, sleep is dangerous. It is when your body lowers its guard, loosens its grip on heat, and risks sliding into that quiet, permanent stillness from which no one wakes up. The food you eat now is the only reason your body will not betray you in sleep, so you eat more. A long bone is split down the middle, passed around the circle like a treasure. Everyone takes their turn, scooping out marrow with an antler shard. It is warm, almost buttery, calorie-dense, nutrient-rich, and absurdly effective at keeping your internal fire going through the night. You take your share without hesitation, licking your fingers clean after, even if they are still numb at the tips. Someone laughs quietly, something about how even the wolves would be jealous of this feast. It draws a few chuckles, one of which ends in a cough, a sign of health, or maybe just exhaustion. Either way, it is ignored. You finish the last piece and lean back slightly, allowing the heat to settle. Your stomach protests for a moment. It is full, perhaps heavier than it has been in days, but this is good. This is necessary, because out there, Beyond the wall of hides, the cold does not just bite, it devours. And your best defense against it is a full belly and a steady metabolism. Then, a small pouch is passed, something leather and stained. When it reaches you, you untie the thong and peer inside. Dried fish, not fresh, and not from here. From a time and place far enough away that its taste has become a history. You take a piece and chew. It is tough, salty, smoked. The ancient insulator. Someone once tried to use leaves instead. It was a mistake. Too wet, too noisy. It rustled like mice at night and turned to rot by spring. Now it is moss or nothing. You gently tap your foot on the floor. It does not echo. It thuds, solid, steady, not the frozen surface of the open step. This floor was dug into the earth, maybe half a meter, maybe more, not to hide, but to protect. Earth, after all, is the oldest insulator. Beneath the snow, the permafrost holds steady. Cold, yes, but stable. It does not plunge the way the air does. Once you dig a few feet, the temperature stops obeying the wind. It becomes something you can rely on. You do not heat this floor because you do not need to. You just cover it, bed it down, and trust it not to betray you in your sleep. In a way, you are living inside the step, burrowed into it like a den. Bones form the skeleton, hides the skin, moss the flesh, and the earth lying on it, the most ancient mother of all. Somewhere near the back of the shelter, a teenager coughs and adjusts a loosened flap near the ceiling. Fine dust of frost falls from the hide seam, but nothing more. He presses it shut, ties it with a sinew loop, and returns to his place. The cold stays outside. And that is the whole point, isn't it? This structure is not meant to look good. It is meant to say no. No to the wind. No to the frost. No to death. You have built something the Ice Age itself has to contend with. It is difficult to appreciate how much thought went into this until you see someone fix it. Earlier today, while you were on the step, one of the older women stayed behind. You see her now, half asleep, but near her lies a pile of tools, an owl, a curved needle, a roll of hide cord. She is the keeper of the boons. The seamstress of this great beast house. When something shifts, she hears it. When something leaks, she fixes it. She has patched more mammoth hide than she has ever worn. And every stitch she makes is a breath stitched into the lungs of this shelter. A thread failure is a breath lost to the wind. You notice a hair-thin crack along one of the tusks near the entrance. Someone filled it with a mix of mud and crushed bone, smoothed with fingers, shaped like a scar. The sealant holds. No draft seeps in. No snow crawls through. It is a quiet triumph. Historians still debate whether these Ice Age dwellings were built seasonally or reused year after year. Some say the bone structures were too heavy and permanent to waste. Others believe they were temporary, built when mammoth hunting provided the raw materials. But from the inside, it hardly matters. This home feels eternal, as if it grew from the earth rather than being placed on it. Your eyes look toward the apex of the dome again. There is no light outside, only the faint orange glow of the fire, dancing on the inner curvature of the tusk and hide. The vent hole at the top of the dome is open just a crack, allowing smoke to stream out in thin, lazy spirals. You have seen it open wider on warmer nights when the fire could roar a little higher. But tonight is not for roaring. Tonight is for sealing, for survival. And here, wrapped in bone, hide, and dirt, you are wrapped in the memory of long-gone animals, mammoths that built this space with their bodies, wolves that lent their fur, grass that dried beneath the summer sun, now buried in the snow. You lean your head against the wall. It gives slightly, like a held breath in a thick coat. The wall is warm, warm in the middle of the ice age. You smile. You are in the belly of something ancient, something stubborn, and, for the moment, something safe. The last figure from your group dives through the low tunnel, pulling the stiff hide back into place behind them. Their entry brings with it a blast of frozen air, a brief, sharp reminder of the world you left behind. Everyone instinctively flinches, not out of fear, but out of pure reflex. That rush carries the smell of the outside world, snow, cold, danger, but it does not linger. The flap slams shut again, heavy with moisture and use, and the final ritual begins. It is time to seal the world out. There is no door here in the sense you might think of one. No wood, no hinges, no latch. Only layers of thick hide stitched into massive sheets, heavy as wet blankets, and far more necessary. Tonight's final seal is a naked hide, huge, dark, dense. It is almost the size of the entrance tunnel itself. Stretched across the opening, it drops with a wet thud onto the inner frame. Already stiff from the cold, it resists closing, like something unwilling to concede the warmth within. But the woman tasked with this job knows what she is doing. She presses down with all her weight on the hide, smoothing it flush against the bone frame. Then, one by one, she selects large stones from a nearby pile. Flat, river-worn stones found long ago and stored specifically for this. They are placed at the base of the hide, pinning it to the earth. More stones go along the edges, creating a seal. Not perfect, but close enough. You hear the wind press against it, a whine like a locked-out ghost. It shakes the flap a little, tests the seams, but it does not get inside. Not tonight. The shelter holds its breath. For a moment, no one speaks. The silence is thicker than before, not empty, but filled. The sound of the storm has vanished, or rather been pushed out. What remains is the interior sound, your new atmosphere. The crackle of fat hitting the embers, the rhythmic hiss of the fire's breath, the soft, wet grunt of someone clearing their nose with a thumb, the quiet words exchanged in the corner, muffled by distance and hide. The soft rearranging of skin against skin as someone finds a better spot. These are the sounds of another world, not dead, not asleep, but healed. The breath of the shelter, the balance of threat. And then the breathing comes. Not yours, not anyone's single breath. The breath of the shelter. You notice it by how the smoke changes. It curls a little differently now, more lazily, hugging the ceiling instead of rising straight up. You notice it in the air itself, thicker, heavier, wetter, with the condensate of 20 bodies exhaling in close proximity. It is not unpleasant. It is necessary, because outside, the air could kill you in minutes. Inside, this same air has been domesticated, tamed, recycled by lungs, fire, moss, and warmth. But the balance must be maintained. Near the center of the shelter, a man crouches beside the hearth. His face is shadowed by the low flame. He leans forward and adjusts something. What looks like a flat stone slab, but is actually a vent cover. He opens it a finger's width. This opens a tiny hole near the base of the wall, barely bigger than a pine cone. From it, the cold penetrates, soft as mist. You might think this is bad, but it is genius. This small hole near the floor is how the fire breathes. Cold, dense air penetrates low, feeding the flame from below, lifting the smoke up to the vent in the roof. It is a controlled draft, a lung system. Without it, the fire would die, or even worse, it would suffocate the entire shelter with carbon monoxide, the quiet killer of sealed spaces. Someone coughs softly, not from sickness, but from the smoke, a reminder. And at the top of the dome, the corresponding vent, hidden by fur and bone, is cracked open just enough to release the smoke. If it is opened too wide, the heat will escape with it. If it is closed too tightly, poison accumulates. Finding that balance is an art, passed down not through words, but instincts. You have seen it adjusted dozens of times, sometimes by the firekeeper, sometimes by the oldest grandmother, who does not even look anymore. She just feels when something is wrong. Tonight, the balance holds. The smoke rises and exits in a lazy spiral, barely visible against the blackened ceiling. It carries heat with it, yes, but not too much, just enough to keep the air breathable, so the lungs do not shut down in sleep. You lean back against the hide wall and slowly inhale. The air is warm and moist, tasting of meat and people. It is not clean in a modern sense, but it is alive. It carries the breath of everyone around you. You inhale what they exhaled. They inhaled what you gave. You are not separate creatures tonight. You are one organism, curled up inside the world's skin, exchanging oxygen for stories, warmth for hope. In the shadows, someone tightens a sinew strap around a through seam. Another adjusts a flap near a sleeping area. These are small gestures, maintenance, but they are sacred in their own way. Because once the world is sealed off, the danger changes. You no longer worry about frostbite. You worry about asphyxiation, about smoke, about the buildup of moisture that can freeze as frost on the ceiling and melt onto your bedding, about the creeping cold in the seams where the hides were not pulled tight enough. This is not rest, not yet. This is vigilance. The shelter is alive and breathing, but only because you tend to it like a patient. Historians still argue whether these Ice Age dwellings were permanent structures or rebuilt with the seasons. Some think that people returned to the same bone huts year after year, adding repairs like layers of memory. Others believe they dismantled and reconstructed them with each migration. But here, inside this dome, it feels less like a house and more like a living being, something with breath, with a pulse, with a mood, and right now, it is purring. Someone deep in the shelter is quietly humming, an old melody, older than Mellory. A lullaby, maybe, or a counting song. It weaves through the smoke like a thread of calm, barely louder than the fire. It marks a shift in energy. The ritual is complete. The cold is locked outside, gnawing at the hide with invisible teeth. And inside, you are warm. You are home. The movement through sleep. Undressing. The warmth has settled in the space, like a second skin. It is not the tropics here, not even comfortable in a modern sense, but compared to the windswept steppe outside, it might as well be paradise. Your outer garments hang near the fire now, stiff with rime and slightly steaming as the ice comes off them. But you cannot sleep in that. That would be asking for trouble. So now begins the next crucial step in your nightly dance with death. Undressing. Not fully, not recklessly, just enough for your body to breathe, enough to avoid the thing you fear more than cold. Moisture. That is the enemy. Not wolves, not bears, not even starvation. Moisture. You shed your outer anorak, made of heavy mammoth hide, or perhaps even bison. It resists at first, stiff with ice crystals from hours of breath and snow. But eventually, it loosens. You feel a crackle as it folds. The outer surface is crusted with frost. The edges are darkened from evaporated sweat. You lift it and shake it gently. Flakes of ice shower down in sparkling splashes. Then it goes to its place near the fire, but not too close. You have seen what happens when hides catch fire. One spark can eat weeks of tanning in seconds. Your boots are next. Thick, two-layered creations of leather and fur, stuffed with dried grass for insulation. You unlace them gently, not because you are graceful, but because frozen laces snap like brittle sticks. Your socks, wrapped in fur and tied rather than sewn, are damp. Not soaked through, but dangerous. You peel them off and replace the inner grass, which has taken on a clammy texture from your sweat. This is expected. That is why the grass is there, to trap the moisture before it reaches the skin. And here is the real question. How many layers to shed? It is a matter of judgment. Your people do not have thermometers, but they have intuition. You feel the air on your skin, how quickly sweat dries, how long your fingers stay numb after exposure. Tonight is not the coldest day, but close to it. You decide to keep your inner tunic, a soft reindeer skin shirt, tanned almost to a suede, trimmed with fox fur at the collar and cuffs. It is not fancy, but it is yours, and more importantly, it is dry. This is the golden rule. Never sleep in what you sweat in, because moisture draws heat 25 times faster than air. The cold does not need to touch you directly. It just needs a little dampness, and then it is over. Heat is pulled from your body, molecule by molecule, like a thief too polite to wake you while he kills. So, you hang your outer pants near the fire, also carefully hooking them onto a carved wooden peg. Someone is already rotating theirs like meat, ensuring even thawing. It is a quiet choreography. Everyone goes through the same ritual, each at their own pace, no one needs to speak. And what you are left in is your houseware. Do not be fooled by that word. These are not pajamas. They are just less armored. A pliable underlayer of well-smoked hide, soft as cloth and surprisingly light. Some are sewn with strips of fur facing inward, creating thermal pockets next to the skin. Others are folded tightly, overlapping scales, stitched with sinew in decorative patterns that also reinforce stress points. You sit by the fire again, bending your legs, feeling the soft bedding with your feet. Even through the inner socks, these lined with rabbit fur, you already feel the difference. Dryness, warmth, relief. Across the room, a girl no older than 10 is carefully hanging her outer tunic, pressing it with her palms to ensure even drying. Her mother nods, saying nothing. A lesson taught not by words, but by rhythms. It briefly strikes you how much technology is embedded in these small movements. Not computers, not machines, but knowledge, layered knowledge. This tunic took weeks. Someone caught the animal, someone else skinned it, someone cleaned and scraped it, soaked it in brains and smoke and patience. Then it was cut, sewn, fitted, and now, tonight, it is being meticulously cared for so it does not accidentally kill its owner. There is a kind of quiet tension in this moment, the point between undressing and sleep, a dangerous pause when you are not fully armored, not yet cozily settled, like between breaths or between heartbeats. You are vulnerable. That is why everyone moves with such care. Historians still debate whether Paleolithic people understood the science behind hypothermia, or if their behavior was purely instinctual. Did they know the physics of moisture conductivity? Or did they simply learn through bitter experience, generation after generation, that wet skin means death? But honestly, does it matter? The engineering of clothing, the needle and the sinew. Someone once tried to use leaves instead. It was a mistake. Too wet, too noisy, it rustled like mice at night and turned to rot by spring. Now it is moss or nothing. You carefully tap your foot on the floor. It does not echo. It thuds dully, solid, stable, not the frozen surface of the open step. They did everything right. And here you are, following the same steps as your ancestors before you, perhaps 500 generations ago. You hang your outer garments. You press your socks to the fire. You rotate your mittens so that the frost on the palms thaws evenly. You check the seams of your leggings for dampness and dryness. You know what will kill you, and you act accordingly. Some in the group keep small leather pouches with crushed moss near their bedding, a kind of dehumidifier, absorbent, useful, a line of defense against moisture in places where airflow cannot reach. Someone scatters a pinch under their sleeping spot. Another trick, passed down by necessity. Even your hair receives attention. If it is long, you tie it up, not for style, but because it holds moisture, which holds cold. The furs around your neck and shoulders will trap that moisture and press it against your spine. It is the kind of mistake you only make once. And when the last garments are hung up and steaming, when your base layers are close to your skin, warm and dry, you exhale. The critical moment has passed. You are no longer dressed for travel, survival, or the hunt. You are dressed for sleep. And in the Ice Age, that is no small thing. You sit cross-legged, warm in your dry hides, the fire still quietly crackling behind you. Across the shelter, in the thick firelight, something catches your eye. A woman, hunching forward, a needle in her hand, working more by feel than by sight. She is not creating art. She is slowly, methodically repairing something. You lean closer, intrigued. On her lap lies a child's tunic. It has been well used, creased, softened by wear, and carries the faint scent of smoke and hide. She threads a long, waxy strand of sinew through a narrow hole in the hide, pulling it taut, her fingers moving with quiet skill. Her tools are primitive by modern standards, but in her hands they are magic. In the Ice Age, fashion did not save lives. Cutting did. Next to her lies a small pile of the instruments of her craft. There is a bone awl, tapered to a fine point, polished by years of use. It is used to punch holes in the hide, not tearing the fiber, because a tear means weakness, and weakness means wind. Then there is the marvel, the eyed needle. It is tiny, so small you barely notice it. Made of polished ivory, drilled with a delicacy that seems impossible without magnifying glasses and power tools. But there it is, gripped between her fingers like a sliver of moonlight. This invention changed everything. It allowed people to sew not just crude bags and capes, but complex, form-fitting garments, sleeves, hoods, gussets, tailored to the human shape like a second skin. It was nothing short of a revolution. You know this, not from books, but from living in this clothing every day. There is a reason you can walk, work, and sleep in sub-zero temperatures, because your clothing is not draped, it is engineered, and the woman in front of you is the engineer. Her thread, not thread, sinew, pulled from the long, stringy muscle tissue along the legs and spine of a deer or reindeer. When it dries, it contracts, pulling the stitches tighter than anything made of plant fiber. And it does not rot. It flexes with the hide, breathes with the weather. For your purposes, it is perfect. You watch as she ties the end of her repair with a knot so small it almost disappears. She tests the seam with a firm tug. Satisfied, she runs the tunic over her hands, checking for rough spots, worn edges. She sets it aside, reaches for another. This is not decoration. This is not done for fun. This is necessary maintenance. Because no matter how many hides you have, no matter how well you built your shelter, if your clothing fails you in the middle of the night, the cold will find a way in. And once it finds a way, it does not ask permission. You look at your own hides, your soft inner shirt, your rabbit fur-lined leggings, your inner socks. Every stitch holds, every seam lies flat. Someone, perhaps your mother, perhaps the woman across the way, made this by hand. She fitted them to you. She measured your shoulders with her eyes, cut the panels with a sharpened rock shard, and sewed them with sinew, softened in her own mouth. And the result? Personal insulation, a wearable shelter, a microclimate of survival. Modern people might look at Ice Age clothing and see rough, lumpy, and stiff garments, but they do not feel what you feel. The way the inner fur conforms to your skin, how the leather gently stretches over your joints, the way the layers trap small pockets of warmth, never letting them escape. It is not bulky, it is dense, like a blanket wrapped in muscle. You shift slightly and hear the soft rustle of your inner layers moving. That rustle is the sound of trapped heat, held, saved for later. Your breath no longer plumes in front of your face. That is how you know the system is working. Over the years, some people have found Ice Age sewing kits buried in the permafrost. Needles, awls, scrapers, rolls of sinew, still tightly coiled. Historians argue about the details. Were they mostly made by women? Were they passed down as heirlooms? Were different stitches used for different parts of the body? The answer is probably yes and no and maybe. But as you watch her work in the firelight, none of that matters. What matters is that the stitches hold, because one gap in a seam and the cold finds your ribs. One missed hole and your thigh loses heat to the ground. One torn armpit and the sweat you tried so hard to avoid is trapped. It begins to freeze. You remember a boy years ago who ignored a small tear in the sleeve of his anorak, just a thumb-sized hole. It seemed minor until a windy storm caught him 2 days later. His arm froze from the elbow to the wrist. He kept the arm, but lost 2 fingers. That lesson did not need to be spoken again. You pull your inner tunic a little tighter now, appreciating the double seam on the collar. It sits high, overlapping the fur collar of your base shirt. This overlap is intentional. Your people do not leave skin exposed. They build their clothing as a series of overlapping scales, redundant, flexible, airtight. It is like sleeping in the warmest onion in the world. Nearby, the seamstress woman puts away her tools, tucking the needle into a case carved from a hollow bird bone. The sinew is neatly coiled, the awl wrapped in soft moss to keep it sharp. She does not smile or speak. She simply nods to herself once and joins the others preparing to rest. And you realize then, everything you wear, every warm breath you take is part of a much larger system. It is not just about the fire, the food, or the shelter. It's about layers of planning, labor, and ingenuity. Even here at the edge of the world, you are surrounded by technology. Not silicon and wires, but bone, hide, and sinew. Not disposable, not replaceable, but essential. And tonight, as the fire quietly hisses and the shelter hums with breath and warmth, your clothing will continue to do its quiet work, holding heat, keeping out death, one stitch at a time.
The nest and thermodynamics. Your gaze slides to the far side of the shelter, where the sleeping platform begins. Not quite a bed, not soft and springy like something stuffed with feathers or down. It is earth, raised slightly above the floor, wide and communal, layered with care and logic, not fluff. You shuffle toward it slowly, as everyone else does, your movements hushed and automatic. Sleep is close now. Not a sudden collapse, but a transition. The fire is low, tamed to a steady red pulse. Most of the cooking is finished. Conversation has dwindled to muttering, then to silence. This is the nest. It occupies nearly half of the structure, a raised shelf built into the earth, ringed with stones and layered with materials that have been meticulously cared for over seasons. It is not just a place to sleep. It is a thermal trap, a communal heat battery. You step onto it and immediately feel the difference. The first layer beneath your feet is moss. Dry, springy, clean. Gathered in the summer months when the earth briefly greens. It has been sun-dried and preserved, then laid down here as insulation. It crunches softly under your weight. Above it, grass, thick, flattened mats, woven into broad sheets that feel almost like woven canvas beneath your soles. Some of the top layer even has small feathers woven into it, not for softness, but to add loft, to trap air, to preserve the one thing no one can afford to lose: heat. You sit down, letting your body settle into the uneven firmness of the mattress. It gives a little, not luxurious, but forgiving. And crucially, it keeps you off the cold floor. That is everything, because cold always rises from below. It leaches into your bones through the ground. If you sleep on bare earth, even inside this shelter, it will find you, seep into your spine, make your joints stiff by dawn, or worse, kill you. That is why this platform was raised. That is why it was layered. That is why it matters. You reach down and feel the layers again with your hands. Moss, grass, then something thicker. Hides, heavy, familiar, slightly oily. These are the base layers of the bedding. Thick hides that have seen years of use. Bear, probably. Maybe musk ox. They are not decorative. They are not even particularly clean, but they are dense, warm, and stiff. Someone across from you adjusts one of the base hides, smoothing it down where it is bunched up. Another reaches under their section and replaces a layer of moss that has become damp from spilled broth or a wet foot. Quiet maintenance, part of the rhythm of survival. Historians sometimes debate how intentional these sleeping platforms were. Some think they were simply organic piles of bedding material gathered over time. Others insist they were engineered, raised, insulated, and maintained as precisely as any modern bed. The truth, if you had to guess, would be both. It began as instinct, and then it became tradition, and tradition, as always, hardened into necessity. You slowly lie down, stretching along the inner edge of the nest. The hide beneath you shifts under your weight, cupping your shoulder blades. It is not soft, but it is reliable. That is more important, because what you are lying on is not just the sleeping surface, it is the boundary between you and the frozen earth, between sleep and death. And above you, nothing yet. But you know what is coming. A murmur rises across the group. A few people stand up. It is time for the next step, building the top layers. Blankets, to the modern mind, are individual things, folded, tucked, offered in hotels and linen closets. But here they are something different. They are a group strategy, and it starts with the sleeping nest. As the older children help unroll the upper furs, you feel the air shift again. Anticipation, the last phase of preparation. A huge sheet of reindeer hide is pulled across the nest, fur side down. It stretches over several people at once, sewn from dozens of skins into one massive plate of warmth. It smells of smoke, animal, old stories. Another follows, a patchwork of fox and rabbit, softer, lighter, laid over the reindeer. Someone tucks an edge under your side, locking the heat in like a wall. You do not object. You even lift your hip to help. These movements are rehearsed, practiced, the same every night, year after year after year. You look around. Others are settling. No one has a strictly assigned spot, but there is an unspoken order. The elders and children settle towards the center. Adults are on the edges, the hunters closest to the entrance. It is not hierarchy, it is thermodynamics. Children are small furnaces with high heat loss. The elders are too. They need the core. You are young. You will take the edge. The nest and thermal calculation. And yet you smile when one of the little ones plops down beside you. A trace of snot glistens on their cheek. They are wrapped in a scrap of fur. You do not push them away. You shift closer. The final upper furs are lowered, thicker, smellier, heavier. One may be cave lion, another Arctic wolf. The stories in each hide are countless. The weight of them is immense. As they settle on you, it feels like burial, but not in fear, in safety. You adjust the hide near your chest, wrapping it tightly, closing the gap through which heat might escape. The cold does not need a doorway, it only needs a crack. You make sure there are none. Beneath you, grass, moss, fur, earth. Around you, breathing bodies, woven heat, bone, silence. Above you, hides, heavy as lore, stitched by hand and firelight. You settle in with the deep understanding that sleep in the Ice Age is not a passive state. It is prepared for, it is layered for, it is guarded, it is earned. You close your eyes, and the earth holds you gently, like a promise. The weight of the furs settles on your chest like a bear's embrace, comforting, yet impossible to ignore. They are heavy. That is the first thing. You do not sink under them. They press down on you, not crushingly, more like an anchor, keeping your heat close, reminding your body, stay here, stay warm, stay alive. The topmost layer is the thickest, a massive reindeer hide blanket, sewn from a dozen skins, tanned with care and patience over weeks. Its smell, earthy, smoky, animal, lingers in your nose. Every hair, hollow and thin, is a marvel. These hairs trap tiny pockets of air inside. Each one is a barrier against the cold. Science may not have the names yet, but the principle is known deep in your bones. This fur saves lives. And it is not just reindeer. Around the edges, fox furs are tucked in, used as trim or scarves. Their ultra-soft undercoat is perfect for wrapping a vulnerable neck or a bare child's face. You are lucky tonight. Someone passes you a rabbit pelt, still warm from the fire. You fold it gently and press it against your face, feeling the softness of the fur touch your eyelids as they close. That foxhide is one of the most coveted furs in your small world. Light, yes, but incredibly effective at insulating the most sensitive parts of the body. And it smells a little nicer than the bear hide, which, if you're honest, always has a hint of wet dog and iron. The hides over you shift slightly as others settle in. One pulls, another adjusts, a third grunts quietly as they turn over to find their preferred position. The sleeping pile is not chaos, it is choreography. Every movement is tuned to a shared goal. Hold the heat. Do not let it escape. Do not wake the child who has finally fallen asleep between you. Because these furs do not just hold your body heat, they hold everyone's body heat. Every person in this nest is part of a communal furnace, and the hides are the lid, preventing the heat from rising and escaping into the night. You are all part of one equation now. Someone shifts behind you, sending a small pocket of cold air rushing across your back. You suck in sharply, then press closer to the person next to you until the cold is gone. It was a gap, a breach in the insulation, but now it is sealed again. Crisis averted. The edges of the fur blanket are tucked under and around you, not tightly, but enough to stop drafts. The center of the sleeping nest is still. A child quietly snores. Someone coughs. Someone else hums almost too softly to hear. You feel the fur settle on your face like a whisper. There is no pillow here, but the hides under your head are thick enough to feel like one. Maybe a wadded foxtail is curled under your neck. You use your hand, folding it beneath your cheek. It is warm, familiar. Modern people consider fur primitive, crude, but they have never survived on the edge of sleep, on the edge of extinction. They have never felt the wind claw at the walls and known that the only thing holding it back is reindeer fur that survived the same wind last year. They have never run their fingers over the fur and whispered, "Thank you." And when the furs are correctly positioned, tucked, and sealed, a silence descends. Not an absence of sound, but a containment of it, as if everything, including the noise, is being held inside, preserved, banked for the morning. Historians sometimes debate how these fur blankets were constructed. Were they single, massive hides from large beasts, or were they patchwork quilts sewn from smaller skins? Some believe the best ones were multi-layered blankets with fur facing both in and out, trapping not one layer of air, but several. Others point to the labor involved and suggest such luxury was rare. But in this shelter tonight, you can feel the answer in your bones. These furs were made with intention. You pull the corner of the top layer higher, letting it cascade over your shoulder, and suddenly you feel the air around your chest become still. No draft, no sting, just a pocket of captured heat caught between your body and the blanket. It is your reward for preparation, for layering correctly, for staying dry, for trusting the system your people built from nothing but animals, plants, smoke, and memory. And the system is working. You can feel your fingers again, not in pain, not in a tingle, just comfortable, quiet. Your feet, encased in fur socks and pressed against someone's calves, are no longer cold. Your face, the last bare part of you, is gently shielded by the rabbit pelt. You are tucked into a womb made from the world itself. Bone, grass, skin, and fire, each plays its part. You are not in a sleeping bag. You are the bag. The heat is inside you. The walls are around you, and everything not needed has been locked outside. You take a deep breath, and the smell of fur fills your lungs. It is not unpleasant, a little dusty, a little earthy. It has a hint of meat smoke and moss and breath. It is the smell of warmth, people, endurance. You slowly exhale. Your body sinks. The weight of the blankets presses your heartbeat against your ribs. You feel the shape of your own heat radiating back to you. Outside, the wind claws at the walls. Inside, your eyes begin to close. And beneath all these layers, fur, on moss, on hide, you begin to fade, not into danger, but into sleep. The living knot. The fire is now just a quiet red pulse, a faint glow pulsing through the embers, like the heart of the shelter itself. Voices have stilled, movement has ceased. Everyone is bundled beneath the weight of hides and silence. And now comes the final insulation, each other. You feel it first as a pressure along your side, not uncomfortable, not intrusive, just a presence. A body, warm, real, breathing, pressed against yours. Not one, not two, but many. There is no sleeping alone here, not if you do not want to die. The clan sleeps as one, a living knot of flesh, fur, and breath. This is not cuddling. This is thermodynamics. This is strategy. You are no longer 20 individuals. You are one breathing organism, a multi-limbed creature, huddled around the flickering core of fire and instinct. You shift slightly, adjusting your shoulder to the hip of the person next to you. He is already asleep, judging by the slow, deep rhythm of his breathing. On the other side, the small child is curled up against your ribs, their feet like small stones tucked under your thigh. Their hair smells of smoke and berries. You do not move them. That child is pure heat. The arrangement is not accidental. The most vulnerable sleep in the center of the pile. Infants, the elderly, the sick. They are the smallest candles, the weakest flames. But here, in the center, they burn safely. Around them, like a shell, sleep the strong, young adults, hunters, mothers. The outermost layer belongs to those whose bodies run hotter, whose waking comes easier. If the cold is going to break through, it will meet them first. You are somewhere in the second layer tonight, not completely protected, not completely protecting. A good spot. A safe spot. The hides above you are heavy, but the people are heavier. You do not mind. Every touch is a pulse of certainty. A soft nudge of a knee against your calf, a forearm across your back, a forehead briefly resting on your shoulder, before shifting. None of it is affection in its pure form, but all of it is trust. A dog whines softly from the far end of the shelter, then presses deeper into the pile. Even the animals know the rules. Huddle, stay still, share the heat you have. You exhale, and your breath warms the space beneath the rabbit pelt wrapped around your face. It does not spread far. The air here is still heavier than before, saturated with the breath of 20 people, 20 hearts, 20 furnaces. If you listen, you can hear it. Not the air, but the sound of being warmed together. There is a low hum, too. Not a voice, but more of a murmur that exists just above silence. The sound of chests rising and falling, the rustle of furs, the onset of sleep. And your body, it submits. Your shoulders drop into the moss-lined bedding. Your hips relax. Your arms, wrapped in tunic sleeves, move closer to your stomach. The warmth you created earlier with food, fire, clothing is now combined, amplified by the warmth of those next to you. You are part of a chain. Every link strengthens the next. It is not just huddling. It is an ancient engineering system, perfected long before science gave it a name. You think of it as a human hearth. Just as the fire burns in the center of the shelter, you are all burning here together, low and slow,
giving off just enough energy to survive the siege of the night. You recall the old story the elders tell, half true, half wishful, about a woman who once tried to sleep alone during the hunting season. She built a fine shelter, she had plenty of food, even dogs with her, but she did not survive it. Not because she starved, not because she was attacked, but because there was no one to hold the heat in. That is what the story says. True or not, you believe it, because lying here, pressed between people like logs in a fire, you understand what no textbook will teach you. Warmth is a social phenomenon. Warmth is a communal phenomenon. And sleep here, in this world, in this time, is a team sport. Modern people sometimes ask why early humans did not sleep in shifts. Why not keep the fire going while others rest? And yes, you do take turns watching. But the sleep itself, it is not rotational. It is concentric, layered like rings on a tree. Those in the center sleep deeper. Those on the edges stay more alert. No one is entirely alone. No one is entirely awake. It is a balance. It is physics. It is survival. You feel the child next to you twitch in their sleep, maybe dreaming of snow, or fire, or mammoths. Their breathing quickens, then slows, and your hand moves without thought and gently rests on their ribs, like a shield, just for a moment, just to remind their body, you are safe. And in doing so, your own body relaxes even more. The act of giving warmth returns it to you. You are not cold, not even a little. Outside, the steppe howls. The wind screams as if angry it is being shut out. And it has been shut out by bone, hides, furs, and this quiet pile of people who refuse to die. You close your eyes, and this time you do not open them again. You sink not into dreams yet, but into the space before dreams, into the soft, humming darkness. Your breath joins the rhythm. Your limbs are no longer yours. They belong to the pile, to the warmth, to the living body made of bodies. And in that warmth, you disappear, just for the night. Somewhere in the slow drift of pre-sleep, you feel another figure gently press against your back. The breath of a faithful friend. The dog. It is not human. Too small, too light, too deliberate. It nudges into the curve of your back, exhales, and settles in. Warm, coarse breath tickles your ribs through the fur-lined tunic. One of the dogs has joined the nest. You do not turn around. You do not need to. You know them by feel. This one is skinny, shaggy, likely the junior male. Its coat is still damp from the last foray outside. It is seeking warmth and giving it back in return. That too is part of the system. They are not pets, not entirely. These are not golden retrievers dozing on polished wood floors. These dogs, or proto-dogs, or wolf dogs, or whatever future scientists will call them, are your companions in the most ancient sense of the word. They share the bread. They share the shelter. And most importantly tonight, they share the bed. There are at least 3 of them with you now. One curled up next to the boy opposite the hearth. Another pressed against the elderly woman near the vent. And this one, this breathing, faithful pressure at your back, has chosen you. There is something sacred in that. Not in a mythical, glowing halo sense, just in the practical sense. We make each other warmer, because that is what this relationship is, mutualism. You offer them scraps, bones, shelter from the wind, and a place in the pile. In return, they offer warmth, early warning of danger, and a quiet, ancient, and transactional sense of loyalty. There are no collars here, no barking commands, only an unspoken agreement that survival is easier together. And oh, the warmth. The dog on your back is like a breathing stone from the fire. Its body radiates heat in a way no fur blanket can. It tucks in, back to back, like a missing puzzle piece. You feel the rise and fall of its breathing match yours. Its ribs expand against yours. You are not cuddling. You are combining surface area, maximizing heat exchange. You are now warmth partners. It shifts once, find in a better angle, then exhales deeply. A gust of warmth penetrates under your tunic. Its paws flex in a dream. You smile, eyes still closed. Some historians argue about when exactly this relationship began, whether dogs were domesticated 15,000 years ago or 30,000 years ago, whether they were lured to human camps by food or recruited as hunting allies. But lying here, you do not care about the debates. What matters is this. Once, long ago, a wild animal walked into a human fire circle and was not driven out. And since then, you have shared the heat. The others barely stir at the presence of the dogs. This is normal, expected. Every night they find their spots, sometimes on the edge of the pile, sometimes burrowed between legs, or curled up in the niches made by the sleeping humans. They are smart. They know not to stretch out too far or steal the best spots. And when they get too hot, they move, adjusting, just as you do. The little girl in the center mumbles something in her sleep and throws an arm over the dog next to her. The dog does not flinch, just shifts, exhales, stays. There is a rhythm here, an understanding so profound it predates speech. You have watched these animals on the steppe, running ahead during the hunt, ears pricked at the scent of prey. You have seen them circle back and return, heard them growl at night when something in the dark came too close. They earned their place in this bed with more than just fluff. But tonight, their job is this, a living blanket with teeth. You feel your dog's tail twitch against your leg. He is dreaming, chasing something. Maybe a rabbit. Maybe a scent you will never understand. His ears twitch, and you instinctively reach out, laying your hand on his shoulder. He settles. The dream fades. Your hand stays there. Because in this shelter, beneath these hides, nothing is wasted. No calorie, no breath, no body heat. The dog's warmth is as valuable as your own, and you, in turn, are a source of warmth for him. There is an intimacy in this, a simplicity stripped of sentimentality. No one in this shelter views the dogs as inferior, nor are they equals in the human sense. They are partners, allies against the cold, and that alliance is reaffirmed every night by how you sleep together, silently, sharing warmth like water in a desert. Sometimes you wonder what the Ice Age would be like without them. Colder, certainly. Lonelier, definitely. You would still survive, probably, but less efficiently, less comfortably. You would have to huddle tighter, pile on more furs, stay closer to the fire. But with the dogs, it is easier, warmer, more alive, and safer. There was a time last winter when a wolf pack came close, too close. Before any human stirred, it was the dogs who heard. They did not bark, not the way dogs bark now. They growled quietly, woke the hunters, and melted back into the darkness. No fight, no losses, just a shared alarm, the whisper of teeth in the night. That is what they give you. Warmth, yes, but also ears, a nose, a warning. Tonight, however, there is no danger, no threat carried on the wind, no howling from the ridge, only the steady, slow rhythm of sleep. Yours, the others, and the animals. You move slightly, allowing the dog next to you more room. He immediately fills it, laying his head near your shoulder. You feel the gentle tapping of his breath, warm and steady. Together, you weather the night, not as man and beast, but as creatures with shared needs. You, with your stitched furs, brown fat, and fire. He, with his coarse fur, twitching nose, and instincts born of sleep. You both chose this pile of hides, this fire-lit hill of survival, and you both chose each other. It is not love, but it is enough. The anonymity of warmth. Last thoughts. Time slows down. The fire has faded to an occasional crackle, an ember crumbling into ash. The air, thick with warmth and sleep, feels heavier now, almost syrupy. You lie still, deeply covered by furs and bodies, and your senses begin to shift inward. Everything is soft, muffled, dim. It is the drift, the borderland between waking and sleeping, where time warps, sound deepens, and your awareness dissolves at the edges. You are not asleep yet, but close. Your thoughts are no longer lined up in neat rows. They unwind like smoke, lazily curling into memory, sensations, fragments. You slowly blink, though your eyes do not fully open anymore. The weight of the reindeer hide blanket presses on your chest, grounding you. You feel the rise and fall of the bodies pressed against yours, some human, some not. Their warmth, their breath, their mass, all of it is now part of your world. You do not distinguish between them. It does not matter who is who, only that they are here. The fire's crackle has faded to a low, intermittent hiss. Occasionally a coal splits, sending a tiny red spark upward before it dies out. The dog on your back lets out a slow moan and exhales. Its body shifts again, closer, then stills. Even the wind outside has dulled. You can hear it if you strain, but it no longer sounds angry, just tired, like a beast that has roamed the steppe all day and now curls up around your shelter to rest. You hear the child breathe, light and fast, a fluttering little rhythm tucked into your side. They kick once in their sleep, and their leg lands on your leg. You do not move it. It is like a warm stone, the touch of life, and you do not want it to leave. Your ears begin to adjust to the new soundscape. There is the deep nasal snore of one of the older hunters, rhythmic like distant waves hitting a frozen shore. There is the creak of the shelter, small movements as the wind outside bends the hides. There is the whisper of fur rubbing against fur, a sigh of sleep catching someone mid-breath, the rustle of dry moss shifting beneath an elbow. And then, every now and then, a silence so deep you wonder if time has stopped. You are still awake, but not completely. Your mind begins to wander, not in words, but in sensations. You feel the ridge of a seam on your tunic pressing into your hip. You think about adjusting it, but it is not worth the effort. Your toes are warm, a small miracle. Someone's foot is pressed against them. You do not know whose, perhaps you never will. That is part of the beauty of this sleeping system. anonymity in warmth. There is a faint itch on your shoulder. You imagine scratching it. You do not scratch. Instead, you imagine it passing, and it passes. The fur near your face is rabbit. You can tell by the way it shifts like a breath when you move your nose. It tickles you. You do not care. You are warm. You are safe. You are fading. Historians debate what dreams Paleolithic people had. Did they dream of the hunt, of fire, of animals that spoke with human voices? Some suggest their dreams were darker, more urgent, shaped by the daily necessity of survival. Others believed they dreamt more vividly than we do today, surrounded by the flicker of fire, the scent of hides, the deep pressure of the earth beneath them. There are even cave paintings, some say, that might be records of dreams, shapes that could not exist, creatures warped by imagination, fingers reaching into the void. But here, in this moment, drifting between firelight and oblivion, you understand something. It does not matter what the dreams mean. What matters is that you are warm enough to have them. Because in this world, dreaming is a privilege. You listen to the world one last time before letting go. The old hunter snores. The fire whispers. The child breathes. The dog shifts. The hide above you creaks as someone tensions it against the cold. And your own breath, slow and steady, fogging the tiny space beneath the pelt near your face. You allow your mind to wander further. You think of summer, the one that lasted 6 weeks. You think of the smell of sun-warmed rock, the splash of fish in the meltwater, the sound a mammoth makes when it roars across the plain. You think of laughter, of meat, of footsteps on snow that crunch just right. You think of fur drying on racks, the hum of scraping tools, and then you stop thinking at all, because the body takes over now. You are no longer managing the heat. You are radiating it. You are no longer bracing for the cold. You are protected. You are no longer preparing to sleep. You are sleeping. The shelter holds you. The pile holds you. The dog's breath behind you holds you. And outside, the steppe howls in vain. You are gone, but not lost. You are home.
The night watch. You do not know what woke you. Not fully, not abruptly. It is more like a feather touching the edge of sleep, a change in the texture of the darkness, a subtle shift in the air, or a body moving near you. You flute upward toward wakefulness, but not all the way. You hover, half asleep, half aware. Your eyes stay closed, but your ears open. There is a faint rustle nearby, a creak, then the soft crunch of bone beneath a careful foot. Someone has gotten up. Not many, just one. This is expected. It is the night watch. You feel their presence rather than see it. A silhouette crossing the low glow of the fire. A figure, hunched and quiet, gliding through the haze of fur and breath. They are not awake because they want to be. They are awake because someone always must be. In a shelter so sealed, so full, sleep is not a solo act. It is a relay. One sleeper stirs, another takes the torch. Together, you build a safety net of partial wakefulness and shared duty. You shift slightly beneath the furs, but not much. You do not want to disturb the others. The child curled at your side mutters something, presses closer. The dog behind you lifts its head, ears twitch once, then it settles again. From the far end of the shelter, a few embers sparkle. The figure, the fire tender, kneels near the hearth, lifting a long, dark bone from the stack of fuel. You know it by the sheen. A greasy mammoth leg bone, split and dried to perfection. It is not just fuel. It is slow-burning fuel, the kind they save for the coldest hours. The bone is laid down with care, settling amidst the embers like an offering. There is no poking, no blowing, just contact. Heat meets marrow, and smoke begins to coil upward, slow and fragrant. A faint sizzling sound follows, like meat hitting a pan. The fire accepts it. The shelter feels it. The sleeping bodies, even unconsciously, seem to react. A collective exhale, a small repositioning of limbs, a hide pulled tighter here, a foot tucked in there. The temperature rises by half a breath. Balance is restored. The watcher, whoever it is, moves with practiced silence. You catch fleeting glimpses, the glint of an eye, the shine of an ivory tool tucked into a belt, a flash of a braid in the firelight. Perhaps it is one of the mothers, or the oldest son, or even the old man who always claims to sleep too lightly. Either way, it does not matter. What matters is that someone is awake, someone is tending the fire, someone is making sure the vent has not frozen shut, that the snow has not piled up against the entrance tunnel, that the heavy hide has not sagged inward from ice and wind. You have heard the stories, the true ones, of what happens when no one wakes up. The fire dies, the smoke builds, the air thickens, and one by one, breathing slows and stops. But not here, not tonight. You notice the vent has been adjusted. The airflow is better. The smoke is coiling upward again instead of pooling overhead. You feel your lungs open a little, as if the shelter has taken a clean breath. And now, so have you. The watcher does not return to their bed right away. They crouch near the hearth for a while, palms out, soaking in the heat. You can almost feel their thoughts, calculating how much fuel is left, listening to the wind, scanning the circle for signs of distress. It is not paranoia, it is protocol, because dangers do not wait for daylight. There could be a collapse if the snow gets too heavy. There could be wolves, bold and hungry, drawn by the breath and warmth inside. Maybe nothing, but maybe something, and that is enough. So someone stays awake. Not all night, but long enough, until the next watcher stirs, until the fire pulses strong again, until the breath in the shelter settles into that slow, synchronized rhythm of deep sleep. You rise slightly into consciousness, then let it go. You do not need to get up. You do not need to worry. Because even here, even now, in the world before alarm clocks, thermostats, or any security systems, someone is holding back the cold. They are watching the embers. They are watching you. Historians debate whether Paleolithic people had formal watches, if they assigned shifts, or simply trusted instinct. Perhaps they did not need to decide. Perhaps their bodies traded off without asking. Sleep is not uniform, after all. One rolls, another stirs, and somewhere in that quiet cycle, the fire is tended, the danger is checked. A system older than clocks, as old as breath. The watcher finally settles back down. They move like mist, slipping into the pile, finding their spot, pulling the hides back over without fuss. The dog nudges its nose into their knee and gets a scratch behind the ear. The fire crackles in approval. And now it is quiet again. Not silent, but steady. You exhale, deeper now, closer to full sleep again. Your awareness begins to fade, reassured by the knowledge that you are not alone in your rest, that the fire is alive, that the shelter breathes, that someone's eyes were open, even as yours closed.
You let go, not into darkness, but into trust. The breath of the hive, the coldest hour. The night is endless, or at least it feels that way. Time has slipped its leash. There is no sun, no stars, no clock ticking on the wall. Only a long, velvety darkness, pressing in from all sides, like thick fur against your cheeks. Somewhere beyond the wall of bone and hide, the Ice Age continues its quiet war against everything warm and breathing. But inside the warmth holds, barely. This is the hardest part. The pre-dawn, longest hours, they creep in quietly, like frost through a crack in the wall, subtle and slow. And though you are buried deep in the nest, surrounded by bodies, covered by layers of hides, you feel it, the shift. The warmth is no longer as saturated. The air has chilled. The fire has settled into a pile of quiet coals, no longer glowing as much as resting. Your skin notices it first, a faint chill on the back of your neck. The air nips the tip of your nose a little. You do not move yet, not fully. You just contract, minimally, instinctively. You pull the rabbit pelt tighter across your face and press your feet harder against the person next to you. You are not alone in this. All around, bodies begin to contract. The great human hearth pulls inward like a giant flower closing before dawn. Shoulders hunch, knees pull to the chest, arms wrap around torsos or strangers. There is no longer a boundary between family and outsider here. The rules of waking life do not apply. This is survival mode, and the nest responds like a living organism, not with words, but with movement, pressure, position. Heat is conserved by proximity. You feel someone shift closer behind your back, their hand briefly resting on your spine before sliding under your hide to steal a little of your heat. You let them. Of course you let them. In the center, the child stirs, whimpers once, then goes silent again, swaddled tighter by the ring of bodies around them. It is not fear that wakes you now. It is awareness. The awareness that this is the most fragile moment of the night. The moment when even your own body begins to doubt its defenses. When the calories you ate for supper are nearly spent. When the fire is only a memory. When dreams become thin and shallow. You do not sit up. You do not panic. You endure. Outside, the cold is at the peak of its power. The temperature has been dropping steadily all night, and now it is at the bottom of the curve. It is the golden hour of ice. Maybe -54, maybe colder. You will never know. You will never want to. What you do know is this. If you crawl out now, even for a moment, your skin will crisp like a leaf. The cold will not even bite, it will just take. But you do not go out. No one goes out. Not yet. Inside the shelter, the air has chilled too. A little, subtly. The kind of cold that seeps into your chest and steals your breath before you realize it. You adjust, half asleep. Your body tightens more. A leg tucks under a thigh. Your nose presses into someone's shoulder blade. Even the dog is curled tighter than before. He is no longer dreaming. He is just existing. A compact heat source wrapped in himself and pressed against your thigh like a hearthstone. This hour needs no words. It is a lesson you have known since childhood. The coldest part comes right before the light. It always does. Your body responds, requiring no commands. Your heart slows slightly, conserving energy. Your breathing becomes shallow. You stop sweating entirely. Every pore is sealed tight like a window. Even your thoughts seem more distant now, thinner like voices heard through snow. You are not in danger, not yet, but you are at risk. So you let go of the dreams. You trade them for warmth. Even in this semi-conscious state, your instincts take over. You adjust your body like a puzzle piece, finding the best contact with the people around you. A hip to yours, a back pressed against your spine. Hands find hands beneath the furs, not to hold, but to share warmth. And in this, the miracle. You survive this hour not through fire, or fur, or fortitude. You survive it because you are part of a group. A person lying in this cold alone will not wake up. No matter how strong, how well fed, the body cannot survive the darkness alone. But together, you burn like a quiet fire, wrapped in skin. Dawn and trust. Your eyes are closed again, not from sleep, but from focus, from effort. You do not relax, you endure. But even here, in the lowest hours, there is comfort in the breathing around you, in the familiar smells, smoke, hide, sweat, fur, in the sounds of people shifting, mumbling, snoring, dreaming, and in the knowledge that this will pass, that dawn will come. The light may be gray, thin, and cruel. It may not bring warmth, but it will bring movement, fuel, food, fire. You just need to hold on a little longer. You press your forehead against the back of the person in front of you. The hide between you is damp now with shared breath. Their warmth meets yours. Your breath softly mists beneath the furs. The child's hand somewhere near your chest is clenched into a fist. And still, no one speaks. No one needs to. The pile breathes, the shelter holds, and the long night prepares to end. It starts with a shift in the air. Not warmer. No, the cold still lies heavy throughout the shelter, but it is different, subtler, cleaner, as if the atmosphere itself is adjusting its posture. You are not fully awake, but your skin feels it first. Something beyond the fur, the fire, the pile. A signal, a faint rustle, the movement of a hide. Someone, perhaps the same figure who tended the fire earlier, perhaps a new watcher, moves quietly toward the tunnel. You hear them breathe once, then the scrape of a stone being lifted, the groan of a stiff hide being pulled back. Then a strip of light, sharp and pale as a blade, it cuts through the ceiling, piercing the smoke and shadow. It is not bright, it is not golden, it is blue, the color of glaciers, the color of a breath held too long. And with it comes a draft, so cold it feels wet, as if someone threw a snowflake directly into your lungs. Everyone feels it. You feel it. The body next to you stirs. The child moans and burrows deeper. The dog behind your back snorts, lifts its head, sniffs once, then drops with a thud again. The night spell breaks, not violently, but steadily, like a tide receding from the shore. The watcher crouches at the tunnel and adjusts the flap, letting in just enough light to say, "It is time," but not enough for the cold to steal what you have built overnight. You blink at it. Your eyelashes are crusted with salt and sleep. You do not sit up yet. No one sits up. There is always this moment, this fragile, reluctant waking. As the living nest wakes, someone yawns, a low, cracked sound. Someone else stretches beneath the pile, making the furs rise and then settle again in a soft wave. You release one foot, just slightly, testing the air beyond the hides. Still cold. Of course, cold. Always cold. But morning has come. You made it. The hunter to your left grunts and rolls out from under the pile with practiced ease. He winces as the air touches his skin, but does not complain. He just begins the process. First, the clothing. The outer hides, cold and stiff, are donned quickly, fiercely. The damp gear from last night, now half thawed near the fire. Others follow, slowly, each at their own pace. No urgency, no bells, only instinct.
You begin to pull back the top layer of fur, allowing it to slide off your chest. The heat escapes like a breath from an opened furnace. You shiver, but you smile, because it is over. The siege of the night, the long, slow burn. You survived it. The air is still smoky, but the color is changing. No longer the deep, warm black of midnight, but a paler gray. The outlines of the tusks overhead grow clearer. The glint of someone's eye across the shelter catches the light. A sleeping mat is folded. A hide is shaken out. Someone cracks the frost off their leggings with a hard slap. Even the fire is waking up. A few coals are brought back to life with a fresh bone. The whisper of dry moss. Soon the flame will lick upward again. Not strong, not yet, but ready. A thin pot of broth is set on a stone. The smell of reheated fat blooms. You sit up fully now. The hide slides from your shoulders, the cold bites your chest, and for a second you inhale sharply, but it does not reach you. Not fully, because you are still warm inside. The fat you ate last night is still burning. Your body has not forgotten the fire. It remembers. And around you others rise. Hair disheveled, eyes blinking, faces relaxed with sleep, but calm. It is not a surprise, it is a ritual. No one speaks at first. There is nothing to say. You survived. They did too. The exchange of nods is not a greeting, it is a confirmation. We are still here. You pull on your outer tunic, still slightly damp from last night. Your fingers ache as you lace the front, but the pain is reassuring. You can feel them. That is good. The dogs shake themselves and trot toward the entrance. They sniff the flap and return unconcerned. No fresh snow by the tunnel, no scent of predator, only morning. One of the elders is already at the fire, stirring something in the hide pot. He dips a carved ladle and offers it to the child, who is now sitting up, hair like burrs, eyes still half closed. The child drinks. Steam curls from their lips. You are next. You accept the same ladle. You take a sip. It is thin, greasy, warm. Perfect. As the light strengthens, you notice the colors returning. Not many, but enough. The hide walls take on a slight tint, the yellowish hue of the tanned reindeer skin, a greenish patch where moss pushes through the seams. The people around you are still in shadows, but now you can see the curve of cheekbones, the gleam of beads on a collar, the tucked tips of ears chafed by fur all night. It is beautiful in its own way, not dramatic, but earned. You look at the entrance again. That shaft of cold light pierces the shelter like a spear, but no one blocks it. It is no longer a threat. It is a signal. You can go out soon. Not now, but soon. There will be fresh snow to walk on, frozen meat to cut, gear to dry, snares to check, a mammoth trail perhaps on the steppe waiting for someone to find it. But first, this moment. This pause in the pile of furs and bodies and breath, this quiet triumph. You slept through a night that by all reasonable measures should have killed you again, and it was not luck. It was layers. It was warmth. It was the fire, the hides, the nest, the fur, the food, the dog's breath on your back, and the ancient, exquisite stubbornness of the human body to stay warm. You look around the shelter, bone and smoke, moss and hide, steam and memory, and you realize something simple and huge. It works. It does not feel like a miracle, but it is one. You survived another night in the Pleistocene, still breathing, still warm, still alive. The silence of trust. And now it is quiet again. The fire hisses softly behind you, its last embers whispering their light across the chamber. The shelter has emptied. Bodies have dispersed into the day, but their warmth lingers in the air. Faint, ghostly, kind.
You remain wrapped in your hide, feet still tucked beneath you, eyes soft and half-lidded. The light outside no longer cuts like a blade. It filters softly now, diffused through the smoke hole in pale, forgiving beams. A warmer draft creeps through the stones at the entrance, not cruel this time, but clean, as if even the Ice Age knows when to exhale. Everything has softened. Your body, once coiled against the cold, now surrenders into a kind of floating warmth. The furs draped over your shoulders feel heavier, but not burdensome, more like a blanket of memory, of effort, of endurance. The silence is complete. You can still hear the world's breath, distant, wind-carved, slow, the faint creak of hide on bone as the shelter adjusts to the new day, the dull thud of stone tools being lifted outside, far away. But here there is only stillness. Allow this to carry you. Allow the feeling of safety, of having survived, of being held by warmth and ingenuity and simple human caring to drift around you like snowflakes falling in silence. You are now part of something ancient, something strong, something that, despite the darkness, despite the cold, despite all the reasons it should not have happened, continues to wake up every morning and relight the fire. So close your eyes now. Let your breathing slow. Let the furs become heavier. Let your thoughts drift away one by one into the white distance. The Ice Age is behind you, and sleep is right ahead.